So the iPhone 11 came out last Friday, and the internet is already bursting with reviews. Now, as a tech reviewer, I gotta put something out. But I haven't had nearly enough time with the device to make even a first impressions video. Plus, I've been pretty sick, as you can tell by the voice. So the pressure was building, so I did what any reasonable person in such a situation would do. I fully immersed myself with the phone. So much so that it took me to some pretty dark places.
Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, I'm almost done. Yeah, I'll be right out. I'll be right out.
Car!
I'm a lot better now, and I feel like the fact that I've been pretty much beyond the wall and back had not only taught me a lot about this phone, but also about life. But this video is about the former. My name is Tausif Hussain, and these are my impressions of the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro Max.
What is up, guys? My name is Tausif Hussain, and today we're talking about the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I hope you guys like that intro sequence. I always like doing something a little bit different, and I love skits, like filming skits, so this is a neat way for me to integrate it. And just let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought. I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts. I'm going to talk about the design, then I'm going to talk about the internals, and then I'm going to dedicate a full compartment to cameras. Now let's get started with the design. Okay, I actually really like the way it looks. I wouldn't say really like the way it looks, but the way that it was made out to me, at least leading up to the event and even after, was that this phone is going to be obnoxious, like it's going to look ugly, but like, I don't mind this. I think this actually looks pretty decent. Like, especially when you put it in a case. I love the big square cutout because you can see more of the color of the actual iPhone versus when you throw a case on this thing, it literally eclipses the whole thing previously. However, I do realize that I may or may not be minority opinion. I asked my family about it. My wife thinks it kind of looks like pimples. I don't know why, and as you probably already know, this phone is a little bit different. It has the frosted glass back finish. To be quite honest, I really like the implementation of the frosted black glass on the back of the Pixel 3 XL. I actually like that better than the space gray or the midnight green on the iPhone. So I'm more of a fan of that frosted glass. However, I do know that that used to scratch quite easily. But also another issue that I noticed with the frosted glass was it made the phone a lot more slipperier. With the glass texture on the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 10s, it felt more grippier because it was actually glass. However, this matte texture doesn't get any fingerprints on it, so that's a plus, I guess. Also, something's gotta be said about the world's toughest glass on a smartphone. I mean, that's what Apple claims with this. Although in the video they showed them throwing a bunch of vegetables at the phone, like I don't think that that's where this phone is gonna crack. However, to be fair, I did watch a video by Everything Apple Pro. I'm gonna link it in the description down below where he actually does a drop test and it performed admirably. Like I was very impressed. And other than that, the phone is actually thicker and heavier than the previous phone, and you can tell it. Like when I'm holding this phone, it feels like a thick phone. I can tell it's thicker. I can tell it's more so when you throw a case on this, it's gonna get even heavier, so just keep that in mind. But all things considered, I think the biggest dilemma this year with the design is which color should I get? Do I get the midnight green or do I get the space gray? Now, this is all I see all over Twitter, all over Instagram. Everyone's posting pictures of, oh, this is not really midnight green. This is like space gray, but with a tint of green. I'm actually curious to see what you guys think. Which color do you guys like better? The midnight green or the space gray? I'm kind of divided on this as well, so I don't know which way I'm gonna swing, honestly. And I know some people have been thinking, you know what, I wanna go midnight green because it's different. But here's a quote for you by a very thoughtful reviewer. If people are getting the midnight green to be different, but everyone's getting the midnight green because it's different, does that make midnight green really different? Okay, let's talk internals. Internals time. Okay, so firstly, we're gonna talk about Face ID. Now, Face ID is supposed to be faster, but however, when I actually used it, I mean, there's like microseconds of a difference. Like, it's a little bit there. I kind of notice it because I'm looking for it. However, to be quite honest, like I didn't really pick it up. Okay, haptic touch. Now, this is a bit of a sensitive topic for me because I was actually a huge fan of the 3D touch. Like, I loved it. I used to use it pretty much daily on several different things, whether I'm viewing photos, and before posting them, I'd like to just do like the whole 3D touch to make it peak, and then if I wanted to get into it, then I'd pop it. Same thing with tweets, same thing with a whole bunch of stuff. So I used to use 3D touch a lot, so I'm kind of disappointed that it's gone now, but I do realize that, okay, maybe it may not be something that everyone's using, so for the greater good, they've taken it out. But I miss it, and I wish it was still there. Now, in terms of the display, this is also a difference that Apple has mentioned from the last gen to this gen. In terms of screen brightness, apparently it can peak to up to 1200 nits, which is actually insane if you think about it. I actually turned the screen brightness to like max level the other day, and it almost blinded me, like legit. I'm not overreacting at all. Maybe a little bit. The other change that they've made is that they've improved the contrast ratio quite a bit, and what this means is that the blacks are going to be blacker and the colors are going to be more deeper, and it's supposed to look a lot better. But to be honest, I've been using both phones day to day, and even holding them up side by side, I haven't really noticed much of a difference, and I don't think the average person will either. Okay, in terms of battery life, now the battery life has been actually quite good on this phone, and it's funny because every year you see like a jump of like 1 or 2 hours or something like that, if any. This year they show like a jump of like 4 hours and 5 hours for the battery life, which is pretty darn substantial. Now, I think they're able to do this because 1, they took out 3D touch, and 2, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, that the phone is actually slightly thicker and heavier, so I'm guessing that they increased the battery size inside, so there's that. Okay, and last but not least in internals, Apple updated the chip on this to the A13 Bionic chip. To be honest, it doesn't even matter to me what the specs are inside an iPhone at this point because they've just become so efficient at using whatever chipset that they put inside. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna start seeing their limits until several years down the life cycle of the phone. So for example, jumping from the XS Max to now the iPhone 11, I haven't really noticed much of a difference. But as it remains right now, honestly, specs wise, both the last gen, this gen, everything, they work really well. They work superb. No issues at all. Okay, and last but not least, the moment we're all waiting for, the camera. I know everyone's been talking about it, like everyone's been raving about how good the camera is. Is it actually really good? What do you think, Tausif? Honestly, this is like one of, if not the best camera that I've used on a smartphone or on even in certain aspects compared to actual cameras that I'm using, for example, to film this video. And I'll tell you why, and I'll get into those details more. But I mean, firstly, they have the ultra-wide lens, which I am so grateful for because I love the ultra-wide. I mean, I've been using it on some of the Huawei phones, and I think it's a great addition to a camera because, honestly, sometimes you just want a nice ultra-wide photo. And having the ability to do that now is super awesome. Maybe you just don't want to zoom in because you can walk in, but to get that ultra-wide effect, you kind of need the lens for it. And I'm pretty stoked that the iPhone 11 actually comes with the regular lens and a ultra-wide lens and not the telephoto this time. Now, I mentioned at the start of the segment that there are certain features that get me so excited about this phone, especially even compared to like my interchangeable lens cameras, like the camera I'm filming on right now. And there's 3 reasons why. Number 1, night mode. Traditionally with a camera, you have to have a tripod if you're gonna do a long exposure shot, because if you don't have a tripod, then your photo is just gonna be like all blurry and hazy. You have to kind of lock it off. You cannot have any movement. However, with these phones, so even with the new iPhone, you're able to basically hand hold it, and it will take like a long exposure shot of like 3 seconds, even handheld. And if you put it on a tripod, it even does a long exposure. Number 2, why I'm so excited about this phone is the stabilization. The stabilization is so good. Like, you can literally walk around with this phone and not have the need to stabilize. Like this shot right here is literally me walking and trying to track something, and it's so smooth, like you'd think I'm on a gimbal. And last but not least, and it's the thing that gets me the most excited about the iPhone camera, and it's one of the reasons why I think it is the best smartphone camera even, is because of the HDR, or like the high dynamic range on the phone. Like, it is incredible whether you're in photo mode or video mode. And this is what I mean by the amazing dynamic range. So usually when you are trying to expose for something that's a little bit darker, like over here, then you would have like the sky blown out. Or if you're exposed for what's in the sky, then you would have this, like all the detail would be gone. But the way that this phone is able to balance both exposed for the sky and the darker areas of this image is absolutely incredible. Like that is yeah, like even really expensive video cameras are not able to do stuff like that. Like, this is incredible. Okay, so this is the front facing video camera, and I'm absolutely blown away with the quality of this, because this is unreal. Like, you can actually vlog with this, or you can actually use this as a filmmaking tool, and some people may not even be able to tell that it is coming from a phone. This is incredible. Now, I'm actually planning on doing a dedicated video on the iPhone 11 Pro Max camera and what it can do, and feature some of that stuff, but that's gonna come a little bit later on because I'm waiting on a few things, and it's gonna be pretty neat. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys sub to the channel if you guys are interested in seeing some of that. So that's gonna come down the road. Now, a lot of what I've been talking about kind of applies to both the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. However, I thought before I conclude, I'd talk a little bit about the iPhone 11. Now, Apple's best-selling phone last year was the iPhone XR. Now, what can Apple do to zone in on that? Well, they can drill another hole, add a lens, change up the colors a little bit, make it a little bit faster, increase the battery life, and also sell it for less. I really don't think majority of the people need the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max. Like, this phone is so good, especially in this color. Like, I love this color. It's like a teal color. And I mean, this phone is so good. It pretty much has majority of the things that the 11 Pro Max does. But here's the bottom line. If you have the iPhone XS or the XS Max, then honestly, I don't think there's any need to upgrade. And I'll caveat this with an asterisk. The only reason you would upgrade from a XS or a XS Max to the iPhone 11 is if you are super interested in the camera, and if you're gonna be using the camera for photos or videos, and that's a big deal to you. Now, if you have a older iPhone, then sure, maybe yeah, you could upgrade, but I would recommend upgrading to the iPhone 11 because you pretty much get majority of the camera improvements. You pretty much get all the improvements that you get with the 11 Pro Max, barring a few things which I will list right now. Number one, telephoto lens. So if you need the telephoto lens, then yeah, you'd have to go to the 11 Pro. Number two, if you want a better display. So the 11 Pro does have the OLED display, and it is a better display, yes, no doubt about that. However, it may not be such a big deal for everyone. Me personally, now that I'm used to the OLED display, it's tough for me to go back to the LCD display. However, I think the average person, like, I'd recommend going to a store and seeing them side by side. The average person may not even recognize the difference between the two. You get a slightly better battery life. I mean, the battery life on the iPhone 11 is already really good, so I mean, not that big of a deal. You get slightly better antennas. I don't even think anybody cares about that right now because we're already able to communicate quite well. And last but not least, you get the 18-watt charger, which you could just buy separately anyways. So those are the only differences between the 11 Pro and the iPhone 11. So I mean, you be the judge and you decide which phone you think is better for you. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, so if you could leave them in the comment section down below what you think is the better buy and what you think works for you, then please let me know. I'd love to get a discussion going. All right, so that about sums it up for me now. I've gone on longer than I really wanted to. My voice is absolutely demolished, but in any case, if you like this video, make sure you guys go ahead and crush that like button. Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you're into things like tech, gadgets, filmmaking, and lifestyle. And as usual, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. I'm quite sick. If you think that it sounds really obnoxious, then make sure you guys go ahead and smash that dislike button twice. Nuh-uh, you can't leave. You haven't subscribed yet. That's it, guys. That's where we're going. That is where we're going, inshallah.
Car!
You have to do the camera.
I know, I didn't get it.
Did you subscribe? Yeah? What about the bell? Like, did you hit the notification bell? Awesome. You're the man or woman, whoever's watching. You know what the best thing about this year's iPhones are? The cases. You're able to do this. Like, I could do this all day. Oh.